Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. New year, first new video of the new year. I have my new shirt on. I need my space. I just washed my hair. I feel like my hair is growing so fast. Like I have a legit teeny weeny afro happening that's like really not even that small. Like I have afro happening here. Look at this. Like it's happening. Like it's happening. So I did a video, a Let's Talk Hair video when I still had my dreads. Some of you guys have been requesting like a new one, which is funny because I did that one not too long ago. I did that one and then like the next day I like cut my hair, which I said in the video like, oh, like I decided I had to do one before I cut my hair. So now some of you guys want like an updated one, so I'm gonna definitely try and do that. Even though not very much has changed, well, some has changed. I've had to get way more into like moisturizing my hair and stuff. So that's been different. And it's just like, I've been like experimenting with like parts, and that's been a whole thing, getting like a straight part. You follow me on Snapchat, you've seen some of that stuff. If you don't follow me on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever, there's like links to all that stuff in the description box. But this hair is like an adventure at this point. It's like I don't know what's gonna happen next with this hair because it's just like really growing. It's like a whole thing. So, anyways, totally side topic. 2017, first new video of the year. This is going to be a PSA, a public service announcement that I told you guys I would be making in my last video. PSA, stop centering white people. As we head into 2017, let this be our collective New Year's resolution. Stop centering white people. So, my friend Donovan, who's amazing, I've paneled with him on the grapevine. All his information will be in the description box too. So Donovan tweeted me after I posted my tabloid activism video, and he tweeted me saying, I have the tweet here, hold on, let's see, saying, say it, y'all get into this video, we can have full pro-black strategic conversations not centered around white people. And I loved that tweet, and I felt like he brought up a great point that I actually didn't really even talk about in my original tabloid activism video, and that was the centering, the specific centering of white people. You know, the centering of white people in everything that we do in order to legitimize the things that we do, even in our resistance. We've talked about this a little bit in my videos about Shea Moisture, how I feel like Shea Moisture goes out of their way to center white people so that white people will buy their products, so that white people, i.e. the mainstream, won't think that Shea Moisture is just like a black people thing. And that's really something that we do as black people, that we internalize as a way to legitimize our products, our brands, our causes, the things we want to say and do. We feel like we have to have these white allies, and we have to center white people, and we have to bring white people on board. And even in our radical resistance, we still feel like we have to center white people as these, harbingers of oppression, I guess you could say, and it's really interesting to sit and really think about like this fixation on, centering white people in everything that we do, and the use of white people as as an anchor almost, the use of white people as an anchor for activism, white people as an eternal, proverbial center for the liberation of black bodies, right? Be it the centering of white allies or the centering of, white racists, white nationalists, white supremacists. We use them as this anchor for our resistance. We really use them as a center for the liberation of black bodies. So Donovan basically made a really good point about how oftentimes, this tabloid activism walks hand in hand with the centering of white folks at all times in the things that we talk about when we talk about revolution. And I think in terms of activism, this is really something that goes back to the idea of integration. You guys know how I feel about integration, fake ass motherfucking integration. We were not integrated. We were assimilated. We were forcibly moved into white culture. Our African American culture was forcibly moved into mainstream white culture. There was no integrating, period. Please check out that video. It should be appearing if you haven't seen it. they were recently having a really good conversation about that on Tumblr, and someone mentioned me, and I posted my video in the thread, so I'll include a link to that in the description box as well. Why did we have to go to the white schools? Why couldn't the white kids in the white schools, come to us? Like, a true integration would have been, a mixing of cultures. Instead, they forcibly, picked us up, and they put us in the white schools. They bust us into the white schools. And we've just really internalized this idea of, like, white is right, white is legitimate, white is the standard, and we need to get into these white spaces, and we need to have these white allies, and we need to be talking about white people all the time, and we have to, like, center them, just a lot of these ideas, I think, in my opinion, go back to integration and the idea that white people have to be centered in everything that we do, be it, again, appealing to white allies, or, quote unquote, exposing and dragging, the white racists. If it's not white, it's not worth talking about. It's not worth talking about. If it's not discussing how white people are devils, it's not worth talking about. If it's not figuring out the best way to gain and appeal to white allies and beg for help from white people, then it's not worth talking about. Which, again, I also have a video on how to be a white ally. Don't check that out if you haven't seen it. But, you guys know I feel like a lot of the crux of the civil rights movement of the 60s, as led by Martin Luther King Jr., was about putting Black torment, especially in the beginning and the middle. MLK really started to change his tune towards the end as he saw, these white people really don't give a fuck. They have no compassion. But, a lot of it was about putting Black torment on a television screen, right? It was on exposing what Black people were going through. It was on making it public, airing America's dirty laundry, so to speak, and kind of appealing to bleeding heart white liberals, as people in power who could help us, please help us, massa, help us, don't you see us struggling, massa, help us, Look at horrible Bo Connors. He's, aren't you a good white person? He's a bad white person. Come and save us, And even with the rise of Donald Trump, I feel there's a lot of historic echoes, and a lot of the main things that especially mainstream media did was just make this huge deal about things that Donald Trump said and did, and give him all this free press time and screen time, kind of in the hopes that they would expose him as a racist, as a fascist, that they would expose him as all these things, and then people will kind of wake up and see the light. And that didn't really happen. that's not the way that white supremacist theory operates. It loves being in the fucking spotlight at this point. You're not gonna, we, especially nowadays, and we're not shaming them, we're glorifying them, And I just feel the centering of whiteness and activism is something that's kind of stuck with us. Again, be it dragging white people, be it complaining about them, be it exposing the bad shit that they do to us, be it appealing to them, goes back to this idea of we have to center white people. And this also reminds me of a lecture that I attended recently, really, really good lecture, where some people were talking about how they don't like the use of the word decolonize, and phrases like decolonize your mind, which we talk about a lot, because they feel that still overly centers colonization, and by default, the colonizers, aka white people, which is really interesting to think about, right? When we say decolonize our mind, in a way, we are kind of still centering white people. But it's a double-edged sword, because in that meeting, for example, one of the suggested terms that they wanted to use instead was convivial, which was a word that I had never heard of, and I have a pretty large vocabulary, and I was convivial, and I had a hard time even figuring out what is the root word there. So the definition of convivial is of or relating to social events. So gatherings, get-togethers, where people can eat and drink and talk and, be friendly, be friendly with others. It's a group, it's a meeting, it's a meeting place, it's a gathering. And a lot of these grassroots organizations that are not cool with decolonize, they want to use the word convivial instead, in the sense of, coming together and forming camaraderie and communities, pretty much absent of any mention even of white people, which is why they like the word convivial as opposed to decolonize. So, and I love the sentiment behind that, but I don't really care for the word convivial. I feel again, it's a word that's not that immediately recognizable. Decolonize has a pretty straightforward meaning, even if you only have like the bare minimum of like, you know, American History 101 knowledge of like the colonies, the original colonies or whatever. But, you know, there's like and it's been so elevated into kind of mainstream that, you know, it's easy to use a word like decolonize with the masses, right? And as Bell Hooks said, any social and political theory that is not accessible to the masses is useless. And to me personally, like in my opinion, convivial just doesn't give me that same accessibility. But that's just my opinion. And, you know, and I said that at the meeting, and at the meeting we then got into concepts of like accessibility and activism and you know, gatekeeping and academia and grassroots organizations and mainstream organizations and, you know, dumbing down of opinions and yada, 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 which is just something else completely that I would totally do a video on if you guys wanted me to get into that a little bit more. But, you know, the point of this video is centering whiteness and pro-black and POC activist spaces. So anyways, it was just like it's just like a really interesting thing, you know, it's just like a really interesting thing, the way that we have really internalized and ingrained that we have to center white people at all times, you know, that you know, you talk about white people all day because you think they're the only thing worth talking about. They're the only thing that people are going to click on, you know, to read your articles or to watch your videos or to give you money or to give you attention, you know. They're the only way to legitimize your cause and move it forward. You know, it's the only way to legitimize your brand and your business and your products and to move it forward. You know, this idea, again, that white people are the norm, they're the standard, they're the center, and we have to aspire to whiteness or to be like them or to appeal to them or to talk to them, to center them, you know. And as Donovan said in his tweet, you know, and as I've been saying for months now, years now, whatever, at a certain point we have to cut white folks out of the equation. We have to be confident that we can create spaces and infrastructure without them, around them, not appealing to them, not talking about them. You know, I don't make videos for white people. I don't sit around thinking about them and their opinions and the things that they're doing, you know. I ignore the shit out of them. And I think a lot of that did have to do with me coming to a point where I was like, I'm just not going to center these people anymore in my life because it's just not productive and it's just not doing anything for me, for my people, for the cause, for my revolution, you know, for my activism work. Like, I just can't keep thinking about these fucking people all day, you know? So, like, PSA, public service announcement in 2017, stop centering white people, right? So thank you, Donovan, for that great tweet and inspired this video. First video of 2017. This has been a public service announcement. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.